News Bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Monday, 4th March, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. A major shakeup in national security as Ambassador Brigadier General Anthony Philip Spencer is appointed acting head of the Strategic Security Agency, SSA. The Office of the Prime Minister said the move was done on the instructions of the Prime Minister. Spencer has returned from Washington and on an instrument from the President has been appointed to head the SSA. The UPM said the National Security Council recommended to the Cabinet the head of the SSA be replaced immediately and new leadership and management be installed with dispatch. The recommendation has been effected as of Saturday, 2nd March 2024. The head of the SSA has been sent on administrative leave. Ambassador Spencer is currently engaging in initiating an extensive review and audit of all personnel, equipment, and processes within the SSA. Ambassador Philip Spencer replaces Major Roger Best as acting head of the SSA. Major Best has been sent on administrative leave. The opposition UNC is asking government to reveal what are the circumstances which required such a move to be carried out. This concern comes from Member of Parliament for Oropuch East and Deputy Political Leader of the UNC, Dr. Wendell. In an audio clip released on Sunday, MP Munilal raised several questions which he claims arise out of this development. Another major drug bust by the TTPS is high-grade Colombian marijuana, valued at $165 million, and more than $19 million in cocaine is seized by a multi-agency intelligence-led police exercise in seizure yesterday. Bales of marijuana strain, what police said is known as hydrocreepy, and 12 packets of cocaine were discovered in a forested area of Austin Trace, Cornwall Village. Senior Superintendent Brian Sudeen, who led the supervised operation in the village in the Southwest Peninsula yesterday, said the seizure of the narcotics yesterday morning came after 4 days of surveillance in the district. He said that around 8:30 a.m. yesterday, members of the police units were venturing into a forested and swampy area when they found 60 bales of marijuana with several Spanish-speaking men close by. The senior superintendent said the officers attempted to arrest several Spanish-speaking men who were near the narcotics, but due to the difficult terrain, the men escaped. Each of the bales contained approximately 50 blocks of high-grade marijuana. Among the bales were 12 packets of cocaine with an estimated street value of $19,236.96, police said. The narcotics haul was extracted from the forested area with a 3-ton truck transported to the Marabella police station, where it was weighed. Its weight amounted to 1,507 kilograms, which carries an estimated street value of $165,388.728. Divers from TT Salvage are trying to determine the quantity of bunker fuel and other liquids still trapped in the overturned barge, the Gulf Stream, which has been launched off the reef near Cove in Tobago since February. Lieutenant Colonel Jason Hills, Chief of Tobago Oil Spill ODPM Operations, gave the update on Friday during a Tobago House of Assembly media briefing at Shore Park Complex in Scarborough. The oil spill has attracted international attention, and the search continues for the owner or owners of the overturned boat, which caused the environmental disaster. The barge has been leaking bunker fuel and polluting Tobago's southwest coast and other territories, including Grenada and Bonaire, according to a BBC report. An alleged disagreement with a partygoer at an event in Laventille this morning, or yesterday morning, is believed to be the motive behind the killing of disc jockey Elijah Sugars Bob. The 24-year-old man was employed at Red 96.7 FM and lived at La Puerta in Diego Martin. Was said to have been injured when gunmen opened fire on a car he was in just after 8 a.m. Reports indicate Bob had been seated in the back seat of a silver Honda City, along with 2 other people, as they left the party at Eastern Quarry Road, Pumptrace, Laventille at 8:10 a.m. The car was driven by a 20-year-old man of 6th Street in Barataria, with a 34-year-old female relative of Bob from Wharton Street in Laventille in the front passenger seat. It was reported they were driving out of the area. Gunmen began shooting at the car. Upon checking, the driver and passenger realized Bob had been shot multiple times and was bleeding profusely. They drove to the Bessar Street police station and was later escorted by officers from the Garden Emergency Branch to the Port of Spain General Hospital, where Bob was pronounced dead on arrival. Bob's parents identified his body in hospital. Crime scene officials reportedly recovered several 9mm spent shell casings at the scene. Member of Public Utilities Marvin Gonzalez assures the public will get to know the contents of a probe into the 2023 Telecommunication Services of TNT cyber attack incident when it is completed. He made a revelation while speaking at the commissioning of phases 1 and 2 of the Lopino Historical Complex earlier this weekend. Minister Gonzalez said the findings of the report will be laid in the Parliament. In international news, India is sharing its training, expertise, and capacity with Trinidad and Tobago in areas including agriculture and other bilateral fields. High Commissioner of India to TNT, Dr. Pradeep Rajpurohit, speaking at the news briefing recently, revealed matters relating to economic and commercial agreements and various activities to further strengthen people-to-people ties between the two countries. And finally, environmental group Nature Seekers of Matura is pleased with the level of growing public support and participation it is noticed for the annual Matura Beach Cleanup. The event was held this past Sunday. March 1st was the turtle nesting season, official beginning. And finally, armed gangs have stormed the main prison in Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, releasing many inmates. The vast majority of about 4,000 men held there have now escaped, a local BBC journalist told the news giant. Among those detained were gang members charged in connection with the 2021 killing of President Jovenel Moïse. And that is news to 6 o'clock right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. It is 8.5 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock on this, the fourth day of March. 4 days already is gone. I find this month is just flying so fast. All right. So thank you so much for joining us. Of course, on the show this morning, full casting. We just heard from Paul Richards with our news brief. We'll hear from Wendell Stephen. Let's see about Richard Ragoobarsingh, but we do have Ruben and Shane in the mix. My name is Steve Khan. All right. 22 degrees on both islands. And yes, for those traveling in and out of Port of Spain, Trinidad, Piarco, if you want to go that way, reminder that the runway is closed from 10 p.m. nightly for the month till 6 a.m. So usual flights like Copa and United and so on, they have been rescheduled. United is coming in this morning. Copa flew in last night. So take note of that for those coming in and out. And before I say hellos to all those that sent us messages, let's say good morning to the man in blue, Paul Richards. We call him around here Super Paul. Super Paul.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Wendell. Did he hear me?
I don't know, but I'm just watching his face. Is like, what is going on here? I can't seem to get it.
Morning, guys. Are you all hearing me? Because I don't know what's going on with the internet this morning.
So
I don't know if it's me or if it's you.
I guess it's from your end.
The feed is terrible. I think I should come out and try to come back in.
All right. While you do
Wendell,
that,
Right?
you've been complaining about this internet for months. It's your internet. Your internet is really bad. It's not us. It's you.
horrible.
Every morning you complain about this internet and you say it's shaky. We are lagged because you have really bad internet. That's all.
No, but it shows that it's the feed is good, but so I don't know what's going on. So I'll log off and come back.
It's Monday. We'll leave it like that. Anyway, good morning to Oliver Man Warren, Beefy Smith out in Goodwood, Tobago. Tobago ain't rough, boy. God Celia, good morning to you in Valencia. Wendy and James, Wayne B, not in Trinity City, but in Covington, Georgia. Rena Boodoo Jennings out in Pitty Valley. CJ out in New York. Marcia Rock, I believe is in Tampa. No, it's Florida, but where? I think it's Tampa. Maria Cillier, John Keto, good morning to you. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Trini B, good morning. Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Doreen Pierre, Carol Guevara, Yen Acham, sorry. Esmond Ali Young. That is Brent Thomas reporting. Okay. Nakisha Pierre, Trinidad Margot, Sasha. Greetings from London. Good morning to you. Mrs. R. Mogains, good morning. Evans David, Marcia Rock, Orlando. I know it's 1 out of 32. Thank you, Marcia Rock. Good morning to Alistair Hart. Good morning to Dan Raj. Send us messages on WhatsApp, GNC Auto Security. Good morning, Michael across in London. And I got a message here from Sean, and Sean is saying, today is Joanne's birthday. First time messaging us. So good morning to Paul and Joanne. Happy birthday to you via WhatsApp. All right. Thank you, Sean. Yep. Yes, gentlemen. How's your weekend?
And good morning to my friend who's returned home, former Ambassador Brigadier General Anthony Phillips Spencer, who is now acting head of the SSA.
Acting? I thought okay. I'd like to know what bacchanal happened there.
I know.
Oh, tell me, Paul. Nobody's listening. Tell me. Let me hear.
Well, you're going to do some greetings.
So I'll have to wait till he comes into the office to hear that. Happy birthday going out to our very own Crystal Sinclair Line. It's her birthday today. She's in the traffic department. Happy birthday to you, Crystal. Bring cake and ice cream on your way to work, please.
All right. So are you here? Are you all hearing me now? Good morning, guys.
We were hearing you before.
We were.
Yeah, the internet is just dropping on.
You have a pasha for taking bad service for so long before you act.
Yeah, but
his rate's going up just now, don't worry.
You've complained about this for months, possibly years.
Yeah, I have been complaining for a long time, but I don't have a choice because no one else is in the area. Digicel said that the area, their capabilities is oversubscribed in the area. Because they came, they gave me an estimate, they did everything. The guy came to install it, and then say he can't, So I tried, but flow is just the absolute worst.
Got rid of that problem years ago.
But what?
So did I.
And they're raising the rates with bad service.
Yeah, again.
Let me tell you, when I had your service provider, you named the problem and I had it. You name it, I had it until I knew exactly what to do, how to check the frequencies, if the signal is strong, how to get into your box to do all of that. And when I said, listen, I'm canceling my service, it was like 10 calls from all different people within a week. Oh, you're a preferred client, and we could do something about your rates if rates is the problem. Tell us what we could do to improve. We guarantee that you won't have any problems.
What you can do, come and take your damn equipment and get it up my house. That's what you can do.
What you can do, Paul? Sorry?
Come and take your damn equipment and get it up my house. That's what I
No, you have to drop it for them. They don't come and take it.
No, well, they came because I wasn't carrying none.
Yeah,
when I acquired them, they brought it so they have to come and pick it up. And they took months.
I did tell it. I said when I signed up, you all brought it. Why is it I have to take it? Can't you get a ticket to break thing? I'll give you the serial number for the boxes because they're all disconnected already.
I don't think they're concerned about that equipment because you know how much things that people have old boxes that have people hanging around the place. I don't think they're concerned.
Oh yeah.
If we get enough money from it ain't gonna work anyway. I really don't think they're concerned.
I have switched. I have Amplia and I have Digicel, and I have no problems.
Yeah, I even spoke to the folks at Ampere and they have not showed up as yet either. I don't know what's going on. I just
Really?
Yeah.
I'll get somebody from Amplia to call you.
But they did. That's what I'm saying. I'd made the appointment, everything.
He'll give you a straightforward.
I know
answer.
this because maybe because my area is a hot spot. I live in Arima, you know.
Speaking of hotspot, good morning to the
Darling.
Strategic Services Agency.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
What
I
I
saw
would say,
that notice sharing yesterday.
thou shalt not investigate people you are not authorized to investigate. That's what I would say. Thou shalt
Let me
not
add my.
investigate people you're not authorized to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about it is that I didn't even know was the head of the SSA until I messaged certain people in the know and they sent me the name. I said, "Oh, I never heard that name before."
His name is Major Roger Best.
Yeah, I never heard of him before. I have to admit.
I think he's a former Coast Guard officer. And in addition to that, all the civilians who were involved, I think, in some of the security aspects at Knowlesley, you could go home tonight.
Yeah, I saw that notice also.
I wonder if members of the church still there.
Anyway,
let me tell you something. If you all know,
I went to try out this new restaurant.
But I can't wait for you to come to work today.
Huh?
Thou shalt not investigate people you are not authorized to inquire about.
Is that what it is?
Among many other things, I understand. Well, when you see the National Security Council meet, and there's a lot of discussion surrounding you, bet your bottom dollar something is afoot.
Somebody is.
They don't.
Isn't it Roger Best, the guy name?
Yeah,
Major Roger Best.
They don't remove a substantive head of the country's primary intelligence gathering agency like that.
That's what I'm saying.
And listen, and you wait up with immediate effect administrative duties, and then bring in somebody from Washington, D.C. that flew in on Saturday evening.
It's not administrative duties, it's administrative leave.
Sorry.
And those are the dreaded words public servants fair hearing. Fair hearing. You are sent on administrative leave. Okay? Ooh, I can't say.
Never to do that as a business.
Oh, boys, give us a little
Absolutely not, Steve. I already said quite enough already. When you say they bring back an ambassador to, and I quote,
go ahead.
Initiate new leadership and management, extensive review and audit of all personnel
and equipment
and processes, including cameras installed in certain places where they should not have been installed, without proper justification.
It coming out piece by piece.
So the installation of cameras were under the SSA?
621.
I don't know. I asked you, know.
And I said 621.
Because there are several cameras installed all over the place now. You know?
621 in Trinidad and Tobago.
I know that Mr. Philip Spencer can't be the happiest camper now because he was ensconced in the Washington for quite a while.
Well,
to have to come back here, he can't be the happiest camper.
I beg to differ. He is one of the most professional,
That he
astute,
okay with coming back here?
and wherever he's posted, he takes on the position with aplomb and dignity. So
Well,
it's not
that
about
I
Well,
saying
he does not. He
I'm
doesn't have
not-
a choice. You know, if you are summoned, Wendell, to pick
Yeah.
up a new portfolio, you can't say, "Well, I don't want to come back there."
okay?
No, I'm not
So-
questioning. I'm not questioning Mr. Philip Spencer's capability and dedication to duty. You know,
And that's why I
I'm
think
just
it's
saying
not,
he
it's
can't
not a
be
matter of
happiest
happiness for
having
him.
to come back in this hellhole. Huh?
I had breakfast with him about 7 months ago in Washington, D.C. So I'm telling you, he's not unhappy wherever he's posted. He takes it on with the greatest of enthusiasm. Okay?
All right.
And he is somebody who, anyone who's worked with him or knows him, knows of the greatest integrity and professionalism. And when you see they bring back somebody at that level to, as I quote again, conduct an extensive review and audit of all personnel, equipment, and processes within the SSA, it means the National Security Council has some concerns.
Naturally.
Okay? That's all
Naturally.
I'm prepared to say at this point. Let me tell you. The things people do when they anyway. 6:23. Good morning to the TTPS. Great job.
Mm-hmm.
Great job. Congratulations. Let me get some applause here.
How much was it?
Let me get some applause here.
I think Bobby
It's very
said
important. We celebrate them.
167.
Amen. Fireworks. Crowd cheering. Celebration. Ambulance siren. Air horn. We're doing everything this morning. You got all the special effects this morning.
What did TTPS
All in one shot.
Great job. A major. Well, I heard about this yesterday afternoon. Just like I heard about the SSA thing about 2:00 yesterday afternoon. But actually, I heard about it on Saturday, and then I heard it confirmed yesterday afternoon.
Yes, it was confirmed.
Major drug bust, high-grade Colombian marijuana valued at more than $165 million, and $19 million in cocaine seized by police in an exercise in seizure yesterday.
Okay. See, just
Yeah, it's typical.
surprise.
Our port to Venezuela, our artificial port to Venezuela. Right, 12 packets of cocaine, marijuana called hydrocreepy. So congratulations to the police and this exercise. They were surveilling the area for about 4 days, and they found the 60 billion marijuana and the packets of cocaine. Great stuff. What is do with it after that? They keep it for evidence until they destroy it. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Prove what it is.
Well,
They have to prove that it's actually marijuana and it's actually cocaine.
They have to send it for testing, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, but good job, police service. Great job.
That's where part of it disappears always.
I don't know about that.
You're on your own with that one.
I don't know anything about that.
I am on my own with everything I say.
Roger Best was a former soldier, not Coast Guard. I stand corrected. 2 people sent me that message. Thank you, Michelin Nakachi, and the other person who sent me the information. He was not Coast Guard man, so
yeah. Let's also say good morning and job well done. They really had a tough weekend. The Hunters Search and Rescue Team, led by Valence Rambarat, they were extremely busy over the weekend.
Did they find the fisherman who went missing?
Well, you know, they're saying that they found 2. Let me get the story here.
A body was found in Venezuelan waters.
Yeah.
And they say it based on the description.
The body of a male was found in Pedernales, Venezuela. Yeah.
How they find it there? That's Venezuelan waters.
They have contacts in Venezuela. They also found the body of a army personnel, if you want to call it that. I'm looking for that story too. Okay, I found the seizure story now. But this one is I won't read that one because it's a bit technical.
You're not making any sense, right?
Hold on, I'm looking for this thing here.
Yes, so congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they found the soldiers. I know they did find bodies over the weekend. A burnt, decomposing body found in Barrackport hanging from a tree is believed to be that of missing prison officer, 35-year-old Alexander Johnson, who was reported missing by his family on January 17th. The body was found hanging by a group of hunters who alerted the family and the authorities. So his wife, who would have made the report that he was missing, I don't know. It is believed, not confirmed yet, that he died by suicide. Also, the JSC National Security had a report laid in Parliament on Friday, so a lot of the newspapers carried a lot of the report, which I've had for a while, but I of course, couldn't talk about it. Focusing on many of the issues that was discussed in, I think we had about 4 to 6 months of that inquiry, focused on the inadequacies at Customs and Excise, and recommended that Customs and Excise be moved from Ministry of Finance to National Security because of the ongoing gaps in Customs' ability to stymie the flow of illegal guns into the nation's legal ports. Right? They said the Border Protection Security Agency focuses on conducting specialized screening, examination, and inspection of barrels. And when you think about it, think about this to me as a recipe for corruption. The same people who are screening is the same people who doing the tax analysis for knowing how much to charge you. You understand? It's a recipe for corruption. It's either I need to get a new sign for Wendell or he's frozen again because he moved for about 30 seconds.
Having a Richard moment.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Oh yeah, he's having a Richard moment for sure.
You know, he complains about the service for months. Yeah. He moved a little move there, you get a little movement there, and
I agree. Yeah. I agree with Sexy San Fernando that the Hunters and Search team should get a national award.
I think they have.
They have?
I believe they have. I think they have gotten a national award already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, wasn't there some confusion over us who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think yeah. Sad news. A young, 24-year-old DJ was killed in a drive-by attack on a car he was traveling in after a party he played in. I don't know him, but his name is Elijah Sugars Bab.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was employed at Red 96.7, which is part of the OCM group. He lived at La Puerta in Diego Martin. Apparently, he'd been seated in the back seat of a car along with 2 other people. He left a party at Eastern Quarry Road in Laventille around 10 a.m. yesterday. And a car pulled up alongside and began shooting at the car in which he was traveling. Upon checking, the driver realized he had been shot multiple times and bleeding profusely. The driver drove to Bedford Street Police Station, and then they were escorted to the Port of Spain General Hospital by Garden Emergency Branch. By the time they got to hospital, the young man was pronounced dead on arrival. Apparently, this seems to have stemmed from some disagreement with a party goer at the party he played in, and then the person swing back. And let me tell you, these young people, swing back and riddle the car with bullets, and the rest is history. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what
An
this
argument over music, imagine.
I don't know what the argument was about, but some kind of argument. I don't know if somebody mashed somebody's foot, if it was over music, if it was over a girl, I don't know. But you had
The
the
smallest of things.
and they swing by with a gun and riddle the car with bullets, and I mean, the rest is history.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just like 24 years old, dead because of an argument. I mean, really? Wow. I think people that say they wish they was young again. I am so happy me young. Let me tell you. Times get too different. To be young now is too much work and too dangerous. If they're taping or they're taping themselves or taping each other, they're arguing, they're stabbing, they're shooting. I don't get it. That is the life they want to live, boy.
Well, I mean, I was fortunate to be around a lot of young people over this weekend that leading very productive lives. I was at the stadium for the trials for the Curfter games over the weekend. I was also at the launch of a new restaurant in Val Park. And I was at the Savannah watching a little cricket and watching Larry and them. Larry's the snow cone man by QRC there. They have a very vibrant dominoes session in the afternoon there. You understand? I saw a lot of productive young people over the weekend. So,
they're more productive young people than not, but it's the few, as we always say.
Yeah, who just intend to carry on with this badness and stupidity.
Yep.
You understand?
Public Utilities Minister Marvin Gonzalez says the public will get to know the contents of a probe done into the 2023 TSTT cyber attack incident when it is completed during this month of March. He said the findings of the report will be laid in Parliament. I don't know that, but I guess you'll find out, presumably, some of what happened. But the rough action has already been taken, not so? You see, the former CEO and the CFO were terminated.
Yeah.
You know? But it'll be interesting to see how that company had been running, because I guess that's what partly how the probe, because a lot of shortcomings seem to have been revealed, both from the present management and from the past management, through Lisa Agard, who testified, who gave evidence at that JSC recently, and Mr. Ramnarayan, the former CFO, Shiva Ramnarayan, I think that's his name, about what Ms. Agard described as the board giving her instructions of not to communicate with the public, and that's authorized by her. I don't know a board's supposed to get that involved in the running of a company. You understand?
Yeah.
If the board...
Weren't they supposed to have paid out bonuses at the end of last year too?
Because they supposedly posted a profit after many years of losing money.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know the revelation that a board could tell a CEO, don't put out no communication in terms of the ordinary, everyday running of a company is astounding. You mean the board running the company? And a board, to my knowledge, is not supposed to run a company. A board is supposed to hand down the policy of the major shareholders or the shareholders to the executive management team led by the CEO, who will apply the executive decisions to fulfill the policy. Not so?
But you know how those things work, eh?
I don't know. Tell me.
Appointed boards, sometimes there are people who feel that they have a right to be in control.
You're telling me? I bounced up a few already.
That has happened a lot of times.
Particularly state boards.
Yep.
Particularly state boards.
Yep.
You understand?
They feel they have the right to be running the show.
Well, with state boards, they feel they're handing down the and this is administration by administration. They feel they have the right to say what they want to do, because the government, whoever government is in power, appoint most of the members, if not all.
Put them there, yeah.
Put them there, and they are seemingly saving at the behest of the executive. So they have to follow instructions and toe the line.
Mm-hmm.
And because in many cases they're so damn incompetent and ill-suited to the board position, to keep the $5,000 stipend and the one lunch a month, because that's what it comes down to it.
Yeah.
A board lunch a month from somewhere and a $5,000 stipend. And the feeling, but then some people lunch for boards, so I guess they get more than one lunch a month, and the stipends add up. Not so?
Yep.
You know about some of them?
Yeah, I know. They
live for them board positions, you know.
I was part of a board, in parenthesis, in the city of Port of Spain for years, and we had people, we had mayors, we had councillors and things who felt that they had a right to be calling the shots in
who to hire, who formed the contract for this contract.
Some of them felt that way.
Yeah, some of them act that way.
Mm-hmm.
No. Procurement procedures, forget that. Anyway, we go and get 2 more tenders so we could fulfill the mandate, right? And then we go choose one that we want based on the criteria that we establish.
Yeah.
Not so?
Yeah.
So they get 2 other firms or 3 other firms to pitch for it. They tell somebody, okay, well, the lowest bid so far is X amount. Just bid $2 into that now. So you understand?
Yeah.
And we go split up the contract. We go do it in 6 months or year by year, to make sure it fulfill all the mandates of the state agency procurement regulations, and we go fix the mix. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong at all, I'm telling you.
All right. Okay. Right, and resumes coming for a position on the executive or in the management, and 10 resumes come in, and they say, you see, that one day, or you know that one that I get the job right. Or you know that right? Okay. Come on. Whether that one who they want to get the job have any qualifications and the experience to do the job or not. And then if a government change, all boards crash, everybody going home, and a whole new set primarily incompetent people are appointed.
Yep. Lackeys.
Ever me want a board position? Never wanted, offered, never accepted. No, it's all right. Thank you very much. Keep that. It's all right. And with the job,
I did want to make a plea also to the public and to people in general to go out and support, especially when these young people putting out these efforts that they would have done at the stadium. This stadium should have a lot more people than what I saw there over the weekend for the Character Games trials. You understand? It can't just be a mother going with a child, or in some case, well, because largely women, mostly women you see at these games with their children, right? The fathers, the families, everybody, more people need to support these young people.
And Wendell,
that's from your area.
A large part of the problem is they don't market the things well.
I was going to get to that too. You know, they need to also.
I didn't know that was taking place.
Yeah, they need to also advertise and
in an age of social media where it's free in most instances.
Yeah.
Really? Long time you said know about these things. Now, how are you supposed to know to run support?
It won't hurt to use all these billboards we have all over the place sometimes. So just flash it across the screen. Character Games trials at the Hazy Crawford Stadium. Go out and support our youth. You know what I mean? It won't hurt to do that. You know?
The marketing is very often very, very poor. And that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
If you're not in the circle, as you say, if you don't have a child who's taking part, or a nephew or a niece or a godchild who's participating, and you know through a familial connection, you just don't know it's happening because there's no indication. I saw no ads on nothing come up on your feed on social media. Nothing to say Carifta Games trial taking place this weekend at the Hazley Crawford Stadium, 10 a.m. Go up and support the young people.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, sports administrators, that's basic.
Yeah, they need to do it. I agree with that, you know. But too, I mean, I will do my part from here. But go out and support them. Find out when these things are taking place, people, and go out and support them. The young people need to hear a stadium full of people cheering them on.
That
You understand?
encourages them on.
Yeah.
In Jamaica, it's totally sold out when it comes to track and field.
And it was free, you know. The games were free, you know. So,
and people are always looking for things to take their kids to on the weekend, the children to on the weekend.
Yeah.
But if they don't know it's happening, how can they participate or take their children and their families? Because the marketing is poor. Anyway, the big news this morning is, of course, a major shakeup in the national security infrastructure in the company. The Strategic Security Agency, which is the country's primary intelligence gathering agency. Am I right, Wendell?
Correct.
Is a major shakeup in the leadership with it's now if he's on administrative leave, but I guess he's the head of the SSA on admin leave because he wasn't fired.
No, he was the head, huh?
Well, he's still the head, but he's just on admin leave.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So acting head is now former ambassador to Washington, D.C., Brigadier General Anthony Philip Spencer, who has been appointed as at Saturday, is it, I think? Acting head of the SSA in a release which came out yesterday afternoon to evening from the office of the Prime Minister. Spencer returned from Washington, was recalled and was given his instrument by Her Excellency the President to head as an acting head of the SSA. The National Security Council, headed by the Prime Minister, recommended to the Cabinet, after I understand quite an intense meeting on Thursday. And I did see a picture released on the Prime Minister's Facebook page of the meeting taking place. In that picture, I saw the Prime Minister, of course, Minister Stuart Young, yes, Minister of Finance, Minister of Public Utilities, Minister of National Security, and others met on Thursday and made this decision to replace Major Roger Best immediately and new leadership and management installed with dispatch. And now acting head of the SSA, Brigadier General Anthony Philip Spencer, will be initiating an extensive review and audit of all personnel, equipment, and processes within the SSA. That church could be in some trouble.
You ain't reading the other one that you sent for me.
Which one is that?
The one that Mark copied. Where the commission.
You could read it too. It's part of what unfolded yesterday.
Yeah, it says the commissioner has instructed the GEB and IATF to take control of guarding the nosy building, which is the center
of the SSA.
Yeah, which houses the OC. No civilian staff is allowed onto the compound. Reasons unknown. Wow.
Reasons unknown by most.
Some drama happening in
reasons unknown by most, you mean. Reasons well known.
Oh Lord.
Let me tell you. 6:45.
I can do the Guardian for you.
Okay, let me start with the it's Monday the 4th of March 2024. Let's start with the Express headlines this morning. Ashe makes more headway. Of course, Miss TNT in Universe, who is in India, continues to her quest to bring home the Miss World crown. She did very well in the Beauty with a Purpose part of the competition. These competitions long time. You go for 2 days and you win or you lose, you know.
Yeah.
That was a whole set of drama. Moninal wants forensic probe into oil spill. Eliminating cervical cancer. TSTT cyber report this month. What else is happening? Oh, families frantic after body found. Cops make 184 seizures drug bust. Suspects escape. Security shakeup and security border control crisis as AJC lays its report. And PM Rohan, come to the scene of your neglect, or let us today. So this is I'm reading here. As soon as the trending stories in your Express, you can go ahead.
All right. The Guardian, of course, today is Monday, March the 4th. Happy birthday, Keon Phillip, a young DJ too at another radio station. He's celebrating his birthday today. I know he listens to us also. SSA shakeup. That's the main headline. And there's a picture of retired Brigadier General Anthony Phillips Spencer.
And Nosley.
And Nosley. Head of intelligence agency sent on administrative leave. Former Washington ambassador appointed to act. So this had to be in the making for a while if Brigadier Spencer is already back here.
No.
He's not back as yet.
He is back. He's taken up the position as I said.
Saturday evening.
Listen to me.
All that sudden. Officers on lockdown, extensive review and audit underway. All of those are headlines in today's Guardian. Also, body found as search for missing fishermen continue. That story is on page 4. Also, police make $184 million drug bust in seizures, but guess what? They held no one. Body found as search for missing fishermen continues. Lockdown at SSA as director sent on leave. All those are headlines. Citizens invited to share ideas for constitutional reform. And there are pictures of former House Speaker Barringer Sinanan, Dr. Terence Farrell, and former Senator Helen Drayton. They are apparently part of that team. All right. UNC, no confidence in border protection plans. So they're not going to support that. And tensions mount between THA and Public Utilities Minister. All right. That all those are headlines in today's Guardian.
Let's move to the news day now. THA distributes 100 oil spill relief vouchers. TT salvage divers to search barge for more fuel. UNC calls for forensic probe into Tobago oil spill. Digital helps Panside Open Technology Center. Body found, maybe missing prison officer. Body found in Valencia, believed to be missing seizures fisherman. Tobago man shot in the head. 2 men murdered overnight in Port of Spain and Petty Valley. Guns recovered, 2 held minutes after robbery. And penal father shields toddler in deadly attack. That's another dramatic story over the weekend. He was killed shielding his child from attackers. 7 killed over what is described as bloody weekend. And how could we ever forget Wendell Stephen and Steve Khan?
Don't tell me you're going to validate that soul.
That's news. It's news.
Well, go ahead, do it.
In a surprising, see my air quotes, surprising turn of events, after he said he needed 350 signatures in an e-petition or petition, that for people to get him back into politics, if they do it. Philip Alexander, in a release over the weekend, has now, in an absolute turnaround, pledged his and the PP's total support to Mrs. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar and the United National Congress.
Did I speak loud enough? If craving for attention was a thing, that man is it. I will validate and share nothing. And anybody who send me anything from him, I wouldn't block you because you're my good friends. But I don't send it from me. I don't want to read about him. I don't want to hear about him. I will never share anything he says or nothing. And you know how I feel about 3 of them in particular. He, II, and AR. Good. Is that it, Paul, for news?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Nice.
Also, before we get the results of morning poll and do that, have you all been seeing the videos of the pre-wedding celebrations in India?
Wait. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
I know seeing
between
something here,
Anand
Paul.
Ambani and Radhika Merchant, Dwayne Bravo, Karen Pollard, they're all there. All the CEOs of various companies are there.
Where should be problems?
Yeah.
Paul,
Rihanna performed. I don't know what the figure. I'm hearing 6,000. I'm hearing 6 million. I'm hearing 9 million. I'm reading that.
yes, everybody drop what they're doing and go on to this pre-wedding party. Yes, you think it's on?
Pre-wedding, huh?
Uh-huh.
Whoa.
But wait, now we missed the story, Paul. A day after the Pharmacy Board of Trinidad and Tobago held its elections, former President Andrew Rahman has alleged over 30 irregularities which came up during the pre-election exercise. But guess what? Rahman, who obtained the highest number of votes, was elected along with 3 other members of his slate and 3 independents. Rahman is now back as president-elect of the Pharmacy Board. What the foul foot is this I read it here? Look at Trinidad and Tobago and some people, eh?
I tell you. All right, let's get the results for morning poll from Friday. Friday, we asked you, do you think Jack Warner can reunite Kamala Prasad Bissessa and Gary Griffith? That was our poll. Friday results are in. 76%, 76% said yes. They said yes, 76%. All right, let's get into this morning's poll.
Don't read it, this story. This story, yeah, real bacchanal in it. They said, let me just quickly get this out of the way. However, despite his victory, it is unlikely that he will be reinstated as president, as the Medical Council appoints 2 members, while Minister of Health Terence Alsing appoints 2 members.
All right,
So,
we have to run into our poll, gentlemen. It's 6 before 7.
what do you have up there, Paul? Should the government explain the reasons for the major changes at the SSA? Yes or no?
Simple poll.
That's our poll this morning.
222-8255. Toll free, North Americans, 866-525-1099. On WhatsApp, you can send us yes or no, 3181021. All right?
Rastaman vibrations, they are positive.
We have 2 votes already. Josie Richardson said yes, and Boy Bidesi said yes.
All right. And happy 42nd birthday to Selvin Kennedy. Happy birthday. Birthday was yesterday, so happy birthday to you. I got Bobby. Morning, Bob. Says yes. I've got Alistair Hart say, what did Alistair Hart say? No to the poll. JJJ. Yes, they should. All right. Thank you, Jerron.
Wayne B says yes. Gregory Boyer says yes.
I wonder if people understand how serious that shakeup is.
And John Keaton says no.
How serious when a government, this government significantly chastised the former government, the UNC, about the appointment of Rashmi Ramnawai. Remember that?
Yes.
Yes.
And rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. But to remove send your present head of the SSA on administrative leave and bring in somebody to conduct an audit of personnel, processes, and equipment is extremely serious.
It is.
Very. All right. We do have a call, gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Sandy Grandy, yes.
Thank you, Grandy.
It don't get more serious than that, you know.
No.
Especially
Should
when
the
it's
government explain the reasons for the major changes at the SSA? Eve out in Sugargorner says yes. Cascade St. Anne's also says yes. Chris Toussaint says yes. Black Pearl. Morning Black Pearl says yes. Like Sammy the Snakes.
Kerwin Duke says yes. And Andre868TT also said yes. And Andre, I agree with you. That's exactly what is going to be said. Adrian Kutu says yes. Sherwin Kerr says no.
Wayne Joseph out in Ontario, Canada says yes. Trini Jam says yes. Thank you, Trini Jam. Should the government explain the reasons for the major changes at the SSA? 222-8255, toll-free North Americans, 866-525-1099, on WhatsApp at 318-1021. All right. Okay, Lorna. Morning, Lorna. Indy, Kali, yes.
Rena Jennings says yes. Royalty Forever says yes. And Carol Guevara also says yes.
Danrad says no.
Danrad.
Chris says yes.
Who?
Chris. All right. We did Carol Guevara. We have a call. Let's go. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I want to agree totally with Paul on this morning about Brigadier General Spencer. He's a man of impeccable integrity, righteous man for the job. Reference your question, I think yes, the government should explain.
All right. Fella sound military like that.
Thank you. Ambrose Blas says no.
Well, in appointing Brigadier Philip Spencer, and based on what we read, that the mandate he has, they kind of almost explain it. You understand? Your mic off, Paul. Your mic off.
The government seriously has questions over how the agency was being run.
Yeah, they kind of explain it.
by the mandate, Mr. Spencer was given off the bat to audit all personnel, processes, and equipment. It means that what was going on?
Yeah,
we need to find out.
Yeah, they kind of explain it.
Well,
Julia Baptiste says yes. Never a dull day. We'll see if Roger Best himself comes out and talks.
Not a word.
I don't know the individual at all. Never heard of him before. I know there was a Best in the army, high up in the Coast Guard at one point in time.
Apparently, he was a retired army personnel.
Yeah, I see army, but I know there was a Best in charge of the Coast Guard back in the days when Martin was minister. There was a Best. I remember him well. Carlisle Cupid says yes. Carlisle, we got your vote earlier on. I know we may not have said it out loud, but I did record it. Yeah, so we'll wait and see how this one unfolds, because you remember when the government changed and they fired Brigadier Peter Joseph, remember? And they had to pay him off because he was wrongfully dismissed. I think that went to court and he was compensated. I stand corrected. Finbar Collins says, no, we like too much commerce. The Trinidad, Finbar. Of course we like commerce. This
is a serious situation.
Yeah. Once it results in a better security for our nation, I'm cool with it. That's all I'm concerned about.
We'll find out how secure the information was before. Or maybe we should find out. Let me put it that way.
Slick Money Grip says yes. And the lip service, I'm not sure if that's a vote. Exactly as to what? Who are you referring to there? Finbar?
I think she's responding to your comments once it results in a better security apparatus.
Yeah.
Where's the Shiman missing in action this morning? She had time to type.
Yeah, Richard had a play over the weekend, so apologies if he's not on air with us at the moment. You know what happens with him when he gets a play. At his age, he needs to recuperate.
No, he's sleeping south wherever.
He has to go in a tank. He has to go in a tank and get his toxins replaced. And
all right, good gentlemen. Let's head into our 7 o'clock major news. Of course, our guest will come up after our news. Hope we'll send that invite. Let's get into it right now.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Administrative changes at the Strategic Services Agency. Ambassador Brigadier General Philip Spencer now heads the SSA. Marijuana valued at more than $165 million and more than $19 million in cocaine are seized by multi-agency intelligence-led police exercise in Cedrus. Marvin Gonzalez says the public will know the contents of TSTT's cyber attack incident once probe is completed, and gangs free 4,000 inmates in Haiti mass jailbreak. Details in a moment. This is News 2, 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. Good morning. Ambassador Brigadier General Philip Spencer is appointed acting head of the Strategic Security Agency. The Office of the Prime Minister said the move was done on the instruction of the Prime Minister. Spencer has returned from Washington and on an instrument from the President has been appointed to head the SSA. The OPM said the National Security Council recommended to the cabinet the head of the SSA be replaced immediately, a new leadership and management be installed with dispatch. This recommendation has been effected, and as of Saturday, 2nd March 2024, the head of the SSA has been sent on administrative leave. Ambassador Philip Spencer is currently engaged in initiating an extensive review and audit of all personnel, equipment, and processes within the SSA. However, the opposition is asking government to reveal what are the circumstances which required such a move to be carried out. This concern comes from Member of Parliament for Oropouche East and Deputy Political Leader of the United National Congress, Dr. Rudal Munilal. In an audio clip on Sunday, Dr. Munilal raised several questions which he claims arise from this latest development. He urged the government to provide answers to these questions to help provide a little more clarity on the matter.
Why was the head of the SSA relieved of his responsibility overnight? Why was the director of the SSA removed in such a sudden manner? In what circumstances did the police purportedly seize equipment, files, reports, and so on from the SSA agency buildings? These are burning questions now that the government must answer. The circumstances that led to the removal of the head of the SSA and the circumstances that led to the return of former Brigadier Philip Spencer to head this agency, and what are the problems with the management and leadership of the SSA that required such urgent action.
Minister of Public Utilities Marvin Gonzalez has assured the public will get to know the contents of the probe done into the 2023 telecommunication services of Trinidad and Tobago cyber attack incident when it is completed. He made the revelation while speaking at the commissioning of phases 1 and 2 of the Lopino Historical Complex this weekend.
This probe was called by me when I immediately recognized that conflicting information was being fed to the national community on whether or not customers' data was or was not compromised. TSTT's position up to the 1st and days after the 1st of November, when I made that statement in Parliament that there was no compromise of customer data, and you can check the records. There are people who sought to put their own definition of compromise. That is for you and the members of the public to make a determination, but compromise is compromise.
Minister Gonzalez said the findings of the report will be laid in Parliament. It will then be referred to the Joint Select Committee on State Enterprises.
Hats off to TNT in that we're having a lot of support. People are coming more sensitized about the environment. It's not just our thing alone, but it's everybody's business. Turtles cannot reverse. So once there's a lot of debris, a lot of things that hinder them or impede the nesting process, which mean our hatchling survival rate drop. So cleaning up the beach, make it safe for turtles to nest successfully and for visitors to view turtles in safety. We have had a lot of support. What we need is the encouragement, the support from our citizens.
Marijuana valued at $165 million and more than $19 million in cocaine was seized by a multi-agency intelligence-led police exercise in Cedros yesterday. Bales of marijuana strain, which police said is known as Hydro Creepy, and 12 packets of cocaine were discovered in a forested area off Austin Trace in Coromandel Village. Senior Superintendent Brian Sudin, who led and supervised the operation in the village in the southwestern peninsula, told the Express yesterday that the seizure of the narcotics yesterday morning came after 4 days of surveillance in the district. He said at around 8:30 a.m. yesterday, members of the police units ventured into a forested, swampy area where they found 60 bales of marijuana and several Spanish-speaking men. The senior superintendent said that the officers attempted to arrest several of the Spanish-speaking men who were near the narcotics, but due to the difficult terrain, the men escaped. Each of the bales contained approximately 50 blocks of high-grade marijuana. Among the bales were the 12 packets of cocaine with an estimated street value of $19,236,096, according to police. The narcotics haul was extracted from the forested area with a 3-ton truck and transported to the Marabella police station where it was weighed. Its weight amounted to over 1,507 kilograms, which carries an estimated street value of $165,388,728. Divers from TT Salvage are trying to determine the quantity of bunker fuel and other liquids still trapped in the overturned barge, the Gulf Stream, which has been lodged on a reef near Cove since February 7th. Lieutenant Colonel Jason Hills, chief of the Tobago Oil Spill ODPM operations, gave an update on Friday during a Tobago House of Assembly media briefing at the Shore Park complex in Scarborough. The search continues for the owner of the overturned boat, which caused the environmental disaster. The barge, which has been leaking bunker fuel and polluting Tobago's southwestern coast and other territories, including Grenada and Bonaire, according to a recent BBC report. A Ministry of National Security statement revealed that a tugboat was pulling the barge from Panama to Guyana. The tugboat has since vanished and no one has accepted liability. With regard to salvaging the vessel, Hill said TT Salvage, which has been contracted by the Ministry of Energy, has commenced some operations. An alleged disagreement with a partygoer at an event in Laventille is believed to be the motive behind the killing of disc jockey Elijah Sugars Bab. The 24-year-old, who was employed on Red 96.7 FM and lived in La Puerta Diego Martin, was said to have been injured when gunmen opened fire on the car he was in just after 8 a.m. According to reports, Bob had been seated in the backseat of a silver Honda City along with 2 other people as they left the party at Eastern Quarry Road, Poundtrace, Laventille around 8:10 a.m. The car was driven by a 20-year-old man of 6th Street, Barataria, while a 34-year-old female relative of Bab's from Morton Street, Laventille was seated in the front passenger seat. It was reported that as they were driving out of the area, gunmen began shooting at the car. Upon checking, the driver and passenger realized Bab had been shot multiple times and was bleeding profusely. They drove to the Bassor Street police station and were later escorted by officers from the Guard and Emergency Branch to the Port of Spain General Hospital, where Bab was pronounced dead on arrival. Bab's parents identified his body at hospital. Crime scene officials reportedly recovered several 9mm spent shell casings at the scene. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. Armed gangs have stormed the main prison in capital Port-au-Prince, releasing many inmates. The vast majority of about 4,000 men held there have now escaped according to a local journalist who spoke with BBC News. Among those detained were gang members charged in connection with the 2021 killing of President Jovenel Moise. Finally, here's weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago generally hot and sunny with a chance of isolated showers mainly during the afternoon. Tonight will be generally fair apart from the chance of the isolated shower. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 31 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, the temperature at Piarco is 22 degrees Celsius. It is 25 degrees Celsius presently at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines at 7 o'clock, administrative changes at the Strategic Services Agency. Ambassador Brigadier General Philip Spencer now heads the SSA. Marijuana valued at more than $165 million and more than $19 million in cocaine was seized by multi-agency intelligence-led police exercise in Cedrus. Marvin Gonzalez says the public will know the contents of TSTT's cyber attack incident once the probe is completed, and gangs free 4,000 inmates in Haiti's mass jailbreak. I'm Avril Sindelbad. That was News 2, 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail coming up at 12 noon, and at 8 o'clock there is an update coming your way. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, Evie is nagging. Anyway, thank you, Evie, for our major news. Of course, you're joining again at 8 o'clock for our news brief. Traffic, yep. Maraval, Diego Martin, East-West Corridor on the main road and on the highway. The main road is actually moving, but very sticky. Chin Chin Road to QREP, you have traffic this morning. Chase Village. San Fernando, you're lighter than usual, just the usual Goroconda Connector Road. All right? All right, gentlemen, let's see if we got any more votes. I'm checking my phone.
Barrington Skippy Thomas voted.
Yeah, I wonder how
yes.
he's doing.
He said
Morning
yes.
to Barrington Skippy.
Morning, Skippy. He said yes, although I think it may be related to the oil spill. Okay. No, I'm not sure about that, Barrington.
Hope
yes, for
well.
transparency, says Victor Roberts. And Beauty Culture said it has to be very, very serious indeed. Some security matters cannot always be made public. But Beauty Culture didn't vote. And Kenny in Harlem says no. And Nasser Mohammed says best MP in Rio Claro. I think he's referring to our guest. Well, I always talk about this MP, you know. I always talk about this man and what I've heard about him. I've never met him, but I've always heard he is an excellent MP and an excellent person.
It's Rio Claro.
Part of Rio Claro. He's part
This
of
is why I know it's Mayaro.
Yeah.
The constituency is Mayaro.
Right. But it extends all the way into Rio Claro, right?
That's correct.
Correct. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Parry, MP Parry. How are you this morning?
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation this morning, and thank you for allowing me into your studio and your viewers and listeners' homes this morning, this beautiful Monday morning.
This
this
interesting
might
Monday
be
morning.
the first time we're interviewing you, Mr. Parry, if I'm not mistaken.
I would have been on a couple of the radio programs when you were on the radio frequency, very short stints, but I've spoken on 1 or 2 before.
All right. Anyway, well, let's get the results of our poll before we
Well, let's ask him first.
Well, yeah, we should ask him.
We have to ask Mr. Parry the question. The question is, where the question going? Right, this is the question, Mr. Parry. Should the government explain the reason or reasons as for the major changes of the SSA?
Absolutely. I think the government ought to explain, not necessarily into the nitty-gritty where you have to expose perhaps secrecy or secret information. But I suspect that the sudden change in the SSA would have come out of the meetings that the Prime Minister would have had in Washington a couple of weeks ago, because I do know, and from my information, is that the U.S. government had asked that the TT government look closely at any of our local policing agencies that is having relationships with U.S. elite units. So it was not a surprise to me when I heard a rumor of an urgent cabinet meeting sometime in the night 2 nights ago, and only to see this notice yesterday that there has been a sudden removal of the head of the SSA. I do think that the crime situation is worrying to our international partners. I think we still remain under these travel advisories under the US government, Canada, and Britain. And these are 3 main trading partners at the end of the day. What we as the public may not know is what happens in the undercurrents of the criminal world. You have a serious issue of transnational crime. All these things are the focus of our international partners. So I am not surprised that based on the requirements of the US government, I think all of our policing agencies that are liaising with the United States government, some sort of work is going to be done, because complaints, I'm sure, would have been raised at those meetings in Washington.
So what are the implications then, because the SSA is the country's premier intelligence gathering agency?
It is. And I mean, one would ask, the public would ask, how effective have they been? The SSA has been around for quite some time. Look at the spiraling rate of crime in the country. And what we see on the surface is, I would suspect, in the iceberg formula, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. We are not privy to what comes before the National Security Council weekly. And I suspect that information that comes to them is cause for serious concerns. So it is worrying. I mean, the national community should take this as a huge red flag. And it should also be a notification that the state perhaps is finally waking up that this crime issue, and I know the United National Congress have been doing our crime consultations over the last couple of months, and it has been raising the awareness of the general public. And I think the government perhaps woke up 2 nights ago and said, look, we need to start doing something. But it is concerning.
Okay, interesting. So let me give the results of our poll then. 28 of you said yes, they should explain, and 10 said no. I took note of Marcia Rock and Helen Prescott's responses before I added. So 28 said yes, they should explain, and 10 said no. All right. Our guest, of course, is Member of Parliament for Mayaro, Mr. Rushton Parry.
So the UNC hasn't officially put out a statement that Dr. Monilal last night made a comment, asked questions about this and said the government needs to explain. I'm paraphrasing here, of course. From the opposition's perspective, how do you feel about this development? Because, I mean, the SSA has come under scrutiny even as under the UNC's tenure from 2010 to 2015. And there has always seemed to be now adding this new development to it, some concerns about that agency and its propriety in many different ways.
Well, the work of the SSA, as you know, it's really bogged down in a lot of secrecy at the end of the day. It is an elite unit of our security services. They have a constitutional mandate. So the SSA should not get up one day and decide, well, I want to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There are 3 persons who commands the helm of the intercepting component of the SSA, which is really the key area in terms of intelligence gathering. You have the director of the SSA, you have the commissioner of the police, and the chief of defense staff. These 3 gentlemen hold the power of the SSA in their hands.
Well,
so,
gentlemen and lady.
Gentlemen and lady holds the power in their hands. So, it is quite concerning. I mean, as a citizen of the Republic, it is concerning when you have these sudden upheavals in the organizations of these elite special policing units. So I agree with Dr. Monilal. I think some explanation must be given. And as I say, we do not have to cross into the area of secret information or secret things that will put the country under national security watch. But some explanation, because what you would find is that the silence of the state will create tremendous speculation amongst the citizenry. And I think that is what no government ought to allow. And this government, it has been a trend on everything. Agreements with Venezuela has been, muddled in secrecy. Everything that the state is doing with regards to our international relationship, they take an issue of total secrecy on it. I am not saying that everything you must discuss, but you must give the electorate, you must give the citizenry some assurance that we are on the right track. And I think the government has to come and do the same with this arrangement with the SSA.
Don't you think, Mr. Parry, that in their bringing back of Mr. Philip Spencer and the mandate he has been given based on the report that we have, that might be the explanation within there?
So I had the pleasure of meeting a retired Brigadier Spencer in Washington sometime in 2017. We did spend some time together having conversations. I know he is a wonderful man, very gentle guy. I was impressed with his conversations while we were in Washington. But connect the dots for a minute. You have Brigadier Spencer, who has been in the circles of Washington for the last 8 years. I have prefaced my conversation on the SSA that I suspect it is a requirement of the US government to relook at local policing agencies and their relationship with US elite agencies to make sure you have that connection. So relationship is important. I would probably deduct that perhaps that relationship between our SSA and US special agencies may not have been in the best form as they are expecting. So let's take someone like
based on what you make a statement that our high-level security agencies may not be in the best relationship with the US. Based on because the Prime Minister just returned from Washington and seemingly had lots of conversations with the FBI and the CIA, and indicated quite a bit of information actually to the public that criminal elements are looking at TNT because of our vulnerabilities. So I'm trying to figure out where you're basing that assumption.
Well, I base the assumption that they move a man overnight. I don't think, you have this thing happening, and understand my point. I'm saying we've had Mr. Best there for quite some time. You have a situation where conversations would have been happening with the US government and the Trinidad and Tobago government. We have had to move Mr. Best, bring Brigadier Spencer. He has a mandate, but I suspect that 5 or 6 points in terms of rationalization, equipment, person, manpower, routines, Mr. Spencer is still the head of the SSA going forward, and he would be required to take command of every other routine and job description as the head of the SSA. Those would have been highlighted for public consumption. We don't know if there are other issues that are his focus, but they choose not to put it out into the public space. But I want to just return back to Brigadier Spencer for a minute in terms of the fact that he is well known in the Washington circles. To me, that is a relationship strengthening arrangement because he's well known. The only challenge that I have, while I love the fact that we have a number of public officers who are retired with tremendous institutional knowledge in all aspects of governance and running this country, I do feel certain positions need a bit of youth energy, a bit of vigor in being ready to take the run because it's a challenging task. And, really have the local knowledge of how things happening here in Trinidad and Tobago. So I see retirees bringing their institutional knowledge to give guidance, absolutely. But I am all for, allowing persons who are very well qualified to in the same fields, but bring a bit of youth and enthusiasm and energy.
Speaking of younger people taking the helm.
No way going in.
How is the United National Congress? I mean, there's so much speculation about your ambitions
Well, I mean,
Mr. Pasabi says is the political leader. She has a really seemingly a strong grip on the UNC base. And there have been speculations that Rushton Parry may be challenging Mrs. Pasabi Sessa for leadership soon. Is that accurate?
I don't think that is accurate at all. At the end of the day, let's put a couple things on the table here. There is no leadership election on the imminent horizon. The constitution of the party puts election for the leader, the political leader, once every 3 years, and that is not due until 2025. But there is a national executive election which is constitutionally due in June of this year. And I think that the membership, the wider membership, is very, very excited about participating in that election that is going to come. Now, that is not an election for I to call. At the end of the day, the political leader and the NATEX, which is the leadership of the party, will make a decision on that. But, you know, I want to preface that also and say that the UNC was the party that first brought one man, one vote to put the political environment here in Trinidad and Tobago. I think the PNM did it sometime after. So there is a foundation of democracy in the United National Congress. And when you speak to the membership, I mean, I am always in my constituency speaking to members of my party, speaking to members of every electoral district. And there is a common thread. They want to exercise their right to have a say on who takes the team into 2025. And I think that is something important when you listen to your membership. And I do trust that the party looks at that, you know, notwithstanding whatever environment we are going to be in the middle of the year. I think the membership is asking about the opportunity to cast their right because we have...
And that executive election decides who will be deputy political leaders, etc. Explain that to us,
That's
please.
correct. So the NATEX consists of about 24 positions. It's 4 deputy political leaders, 3 deputy political leaders, chairman, vice chairman, treasurer, education officer, international relations officer, and a bunch of regional coordinators somewhere along the line, policy and strategy. Not the leader. The political leaders election is due in 2025. So really, it's the one time where the voice of your membership gets to make that decision. Like in any democratic process, I mean, we go to the polls once every 5 years. You know, there's the talk that, you know, you have no voice after you vote. But that time when you are allowed to vote, you can make your voice loud and clear. And I am telling you from the talk that I am hearing, the membership really wants an opportunity to have that opportunity to refresh or reset in terms of the national executive.
What does that mean in your mind?
Well, it means that, in my view, we need the best version of the UNC to take the PNM head on in 2025. And there must be an opportunity for the party to decide whether we are at the best version ourselves right now, or we need a new team to give us the best version. Because in my respectful view...
Do you think this is the best version of the UNC now?
Well, that's the version we have. And
but do you think the present version is the best version of the UNC now?
Well, I think there's room for growth and for strengthening. Oh, absolutely. Evolution in politics is needed all the time. And as we evolve as a political organization, we have to clean up, you know, loose ends, areas where we may be a bit weakened. But that is not my call. That is the call of the membership, and the membership has to call for that. And
is it that you're considering, Mr. Parry, contesting one of these positions in the UNC at the NATEX?
It has been brought to my attention. I mean, my constituents in Mayaro, they talk to me about that all the time. You know, Rushton, you know, you could play a bigger role, you could do this, you could do that, right? But while I have not made a firm decision, I can tell you that, like every other member of the party, I want the right to vote. I want the right to vote to make sure that the best team of the UNC goes into 2025 at a general election.
If you had to contest a position, what position would you contest?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I have not considered it in any deep perspective. Obviously, any one of the roles, I do believe that I will be very, very effective in. Just as a sideline, I mean, at the age of 22, I was invited to join the Lions Club of Mayaro. After spending years as a young man in my business with my parents, working with the community, working with sporting organizations and so on, the Lions Club saw the worth that I have. And I was invited, and I've been a member of the Lions Club for going in over 30 years. So too in my work as a member of parliament, I do a considerable amount of work in so many different areas in the constituency. I am not surprised that, people or the constituent, the membership do feel that I have something of value to offer in terms of providing guidance and leadership at the end of the day. And the membership will decide that when that time comes.
You're
But
so
what do
politically
you
correct. That's
want?
such a wonderful politically correct statement. Just pushing the envelope just enough not to push yourself on anyone, but opening it to the membership.
Well, Wendell, let me answer it this way, right?
Mhm.
I don't think there is a police constable who joins the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service who doesn't want to be commissioner one day.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question.
Well, that's very clear, Mr. Parry.
Good.
And my understanding from the people of Mayaro is that you are extremely popular, but you may not be so popular within your own bowels because of the hand that you stretch. I've heard that too. You want to clear that up for us this morning?
Well, I can clear this way. I have the greatest relationship with all of my colleagues. None of my colleagues have any untoward thoughts about me, and neither do I. I work very, very well with my colleagues. There are people who are peddling this thing that perhaps that there's a rift between the political leader and myself, and that's not the case. We had a nice conversation on Friday in the parliament. We raised some matters. I raised some matters with her. And I can tell you this. Mrs. Prasad Bisesa is a lovely lady. She listens. While we meet all the time, MPs speak to the political leader all the time. When we sit at caucus, we will discuss matters of bills and so on. But as any employee, you want to discuss matters of work where you need an hour and a half of the leader's time. Well, then you write, you ask, and from time to time, you are allowed to sit down and have a conversation. And, more talk is important. And, there is something that I read, a nice quote the other day, about leadership is that, when leaders stop talking, the people who follow you stop talking as well. So it's important that, leaders continue having conversations with its membership because you want your membership to speak. So you'll be appraised of issues and you can make the necessary changes that is required to move forward.
Did you raise the issue of Mrs. Prasad Bisesa referring to some of the followers of the UNC, whether past or present, as sheep? Did you get a chance to raise that with her? Because I noted your release last week that called about the legacy of Basdeo Pandey being disrespected.
Well, let me close that matter by saying this, because I think it has been fully ventilated on social media. I have the greatest respect in the world for Mr. Pandey. My parents and Mr. Pandey and Mrs. Pandey have had a long, long history. I do admire him, just as I admire Mrs. Prasad Bisesa as well. Both of them, the work that they both have done, have created the UNC to be the formidable political force it is today. But we must always be mindful that strong and effective leadership is grounded on respect for the membership of the party. And I want to end by saying Mrs. Prasad Bisesa did give me some good advice. She says, let us not focus on anything else but the collapsing state of our economy, runaway crime, collapsing infrastructure, all under the watchful eye by a very lazy administration. And I agreed with her, and we're focusing on that going forward.
So you've forgiven her for calling your membership sheep?
Well, there is nothing to forgive, right? Just as you are entitled to an opinion, my commentary was not directed at anyone. There was a lot of people saying a lot of negative things about Mr. Pandey, and I said that we must never forget that we owe where we are in the United National Congress to both the work of both Mr. Pandey and Mrs. Prasad Bisasa.
You are a diplomat par excellence, let me tell you.
Next thing
what are your thoughts on Rushton Parry on the recent comments by Gary Griffith and the seeming rift between Mr. Griffith and who he described as the person he purported as the person who may have been whispering in Mrs. Pasabisa's ear about collaboration between the UNC and the NTA, and also the recent endorsement of Philip Alexander and the PEP of the UNC, and the fact that the third parties, well, the PNM has always stated that they're going alone, so that's not an option for any of the third parties. The PNM is a solo player, and they have never opened the door to collaborating with any other party in national elections or local government elections. So the third parties seeming to go toward the UNC as an option for some sort of partnership arrangement again. What are your thoughts on those developments?
So the name of the party that I subscribe to is the United National Congress, and U stands for United. So that tells me that there is an opportunity for unity at all time. Now, I am not privy because I don't sit in the leadership. I don't sit in the national executive. So I'm not privy to a lot of the nitty-gritty of what are the arrangements between the third-party political agencies and so on. I know we welcome everybody under the umbrella of the United National Congress because we're united. But I can say this. The United National Congress will work with anybody until the relationship becomes unworkable. And whenever it becomes unworkable, I am sure we will do some work internally to see if it was our fault. But I assure you, if it is from Wayne Ragoobarsingh come right back to Gary Griffith or the PEP, we will continue to remain a political organization that welcomes all persons on board, and we will work hard with these relationships to make it work.
What do you think the UNC should have learned from the 2010-2015 partnership experience? Because by the end of the term, the UNC stood in government alone, and the partnership partners had all fallen by the wayside. Some attributed to their own issues, some attributed to the UNC minimizing their role in the partnership. What do you think should have been learned from that experience based on what you just said?
I know a lot of things would have been said over the years in terms of why those collapses happened, because what the membership of the party says is that they couldn't understand how in the two occasions that the UNC have been in government, in 1995 and in 2010, the performance of the UNC was beyond expectation. Yet when we went to the polls at 5 years after, the party lost government. And you come to the question of managing relationships. Well, I can tell you as a businessman, I have to manage several relationships with people who work with me as well. Not all of us are in the same if you want to call it line and length, but I believe politically, we ought to have managed expectations better. I don't think we may have done that. Whether the timing was too short, whether everything was a hodgepodge very, very quickly. But to me, going forward, I mean, you've had the PEP talk about, lining up and supporting the UNC and so on, and all that is welcome. But I trust at the end of the day, as all these little groupings, because everybody has value. Every single person has value to the effective development of Trinidad and Tobago. But the UNC is the big umbrella. This is the political movement. There are two political forces to government, which is the PNM and the UNC. I belong to the UNC. We have to make sure that the relationship that you manage is respectful and that you manage the expectation of the other party. You set clear guidance and control points where you have levers. But that's a management issue. That's a personality issue. And I do feel that it is not beyond us in the United National Congress to do it, because I am of the firm belief, and I'll reiterate again, that every single person, be it Michaela Pandey, be it PA, be it Gary, everybody will have tremendous value as we take Trinidad and Tobago forward.
I just seen a comment. I don't know if it's from Dr. Fuad Khan, but it's from A. Fuad Khan asking a question. Why is the UNC not registering new members at the head office? Would you care to comment on that?
Okay, so apparently there was an issue with the old forms, and a decision was taken at some point in time. I'm not aware when that decision happened, but a decision was made to cancel the old form, create a new form. So there are new forms that are available. As a matter of fact, on Friday, when I went to collect my nomination form, I picked up membership forms as well. So membership forms are available at party headquarters right now. I think for members of the public wishing to join, you are entitled to 5 forms. I do believe councillors, aldermen, MPs, and so on can write the general secretary to get forms in bulk so they can distribute it within their specific areas. But forms are available, and I trust that the process would kick in ASAP to start vetting the requirements of membership and have the membership listing updated to reflect something that is true and real.
Mr. Parry, are you aware of anyone else in the Mayaro constituency who may have collected a nomination form to go up against?
No, normally those things are not made public. I do believe when you collect a form, a nomination form, you do have to sign as to exactly what constituency that you are applying for. You are not limited. So if I wanted to file for any other constituency, including Mayaro, I can do that as a member of the party as well. But I am not aware if anybody else has collected nomination forms for Mayaro as yet.
What are your thoughts on Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa's recent comments about, and I'm paraphrasing here, third parties needing to pull their weight? The UNC pays for infrastructure X and Y, and people just want to come in. I'm paraphrasing here, so please correct me if I go astray. And that's seeming to have elicited the response from Gary Griffith. In the context of what you just discussed about the UNC being open to uniting with other parties in the interest of the country, that those comments seem to have generated some friction, if I can call it that.
Well, I mean, I can't speak on what Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa line and length of thinking. I mean, we must realize that Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa had a very unimaginable task in 2010 to manage a partnership with so many groups of people. And I think from her experience, and I mean, I had a one-on-one conversation, casual conversation with Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa a couple of years ago. We were sitting on the bench of the parliament on the outside. And, she was telling me how difficult it was in managing these various groups as a leader. And how difficult when the demands are made. So I am not surprised that Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa has adopted a particular position on that. Whether it's a party position, I don't know. Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa is entitled to her opinion as the political leader. But I have my view on how we ought to be managing relationships, because I do believe, as I said before, every single group or person has a valuable role to play in moving Trinidad and Tobago.
2025 is the next general election. The UNC under Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa has not been victorious in 2015, neither in 2020. What do you think is the main reason, or were the main reasons for the PNM being able to hold on to the reins of governance in the country, as opposed to people choosing the UNC on those 2 occasions nationally?
Well, I would say this. If we were not selected by the electorate in 2020 or 2015, there must be fundamental reasons for that, because I said both administrations were founded on excellent work in terms of the development of the country and so on. All I would want to say on that is that perhaps the country did not accept that we had the best team before them. And this is why I'm saying, because of the democracy that exists within the UNC and the framers of our constitution, putting a reset button called the NATEX elections every 2 years, it gives the membership. And I want to stress this, and this is the point I would like to leave in the minds of everybody here, that we are at the dispense and at the behest of our membership. And if the membership of the party feels that we had a problem in 2015, we had a problem in 2020, well, perhaps we need to revise and refresh going into 2020.
But what do you think the problem was? Because I'm sure you're an intelligent man, a businessman. You have a pretty good understanding of the lay of the political land. And a party that was in power from 2010 to 2015, as you, in your words, performed well beyond expectation, is the phrase you used, were not successful in being re-elected in 2015, and neither again in 2020. There must have been some reflection and introspection by the party, by yourself as an MP, as to what is the main reason that didn't happen.
Do you believe it's a membership problem or a leadership problem?
I don't think it's one problem. I think it may have been an amalgamation of a number of things. Our communication strategy, the way how the selection processes may have happened. But I mean, you've heard the cries of the people at the end of the day. We've heard it. I've heard it. I don't want to speculate. I have my personal views on certain things and why things didn't happen as it's supposed to be. But I want to anchor this. Unless we can convince the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago by virtue of the will of our membership that we are going to carry the best team to 2025, well, then we may be in a bit of problem.
But the core membership is not going to ever, and either the PNM side nor the UNC side, get a political entity in power, whether it be a partnership or a single party like the PNM. It has to be able to convince those primarily non-aligned voters, the swing voters as we call them, in those swing constituencies. That is the secret to getting first past the post in our system. What do you think about the UNC's performance or the PNM performance, conversely, is going to make that difference in 2025?
Well, I can tell you the PNM's performance has been absolutely dismal for the last 8 years. And the
UNC said that in 2015 and 2020.
Well, it is the truth.
And even if we take your word as the truth, it's still, the PNM was still successful, even though you're saying in your words the PNM's performance is dismal. So there must be some other factor, if we have to take your assessment of the situation, that gets the PNM first past the post on those two occasions.
So I'll tell you something by not telling you something, right? If we know performance is not the lever to win an election, we know exactly what it is going to take to win an election in the United National Congress.
And what is that?
It is the secret in our sauce that is going to remain secret. All right? It is the secret that is going to remain secret. I mean, I can't give you the strategy.
In 2020, it's remained a secret in 2015 and 2020. Will the secret be revealed in 2025? Because you're talking in parables, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I have no choice but to talk in parables. But because
I can tell you something, Mr. Parry.
Yes.
In 2010, the PNM went into an election with Mr. Manning and lost. By 2015, they had a new leader in Dr. Rowley, and he remained there, especially after the conduct of the government during the COVID crisis, right?
Yeah.
Are you suggesting then, okay, because I'm trying to read what you're saying without saying it, that maybe a change of leadership may do it for the UNC?
Well, if that is the will of the membership, understand this, and I'm being very clear here.
Mr. Parry,
wait, Parry. Hang on. This is not private sector where you apply for a job. You cannot apply for the job of a political leader. The membership has to agree that leadership change is needed. And this leadership is not about the political leader alone.
Agreed.
You're talking about an executive. You're talking about a party system, party organs. And it has to be the will of the membership. It's not that Parry feels he's the best man for the work and he won the work. No, it don't work so. It means that you have to be able to convince the membership, right? Or the membership must have that call. Let's put it that way, that something is needed. And as you rightfully put it, we presented something to the public in 2015. We presented something to the public in 2020, and it was not what the public wanted. So the question is, and that the membership has to ask, what are we going to present to the public in 2025? Is it going to be different? If the membership feel that we are on the right track, well, the membership will make a particular decision, and the best possible team will be there in 2025. If the membership says, well, look, we require change, the membership will decide it, because it rests in the membership of the party, not in any one particular person at the end of the day. And that is my view on the matter.
Do you think, good morning, Richard.
Morning, guys.
Hey, morning, Richard.
Morning, guys.
Do you think, based on the fact the Mrs. Pasabi says was able to become prime minister under a partnership arrangement, that is the secret that was missing in 2015 and 2020? Because in 2010, when Mrs. Pasabi says led the UNC and her coalition partners to power, it was that kind of arrangement. Is that the secret that we're talking about?
Well, it could be, and no options are off the board. And as I said, in the UNC, the word united means exactly that. We will continue to work. We will continue to work with every relationship until it becomes unworkable, and then we'll figure out where it went wrong. Listen, we need to have some clear vision and idea of where we want to go, and we have to work hard at it. And it must be grounded on the will of the membership. And we wait to see. The framers of our constitution put those things in place to make sure that there is a refreshing of our mandate ever so often for political organizations to evolve based on the conditions that exist. And I'll give you a simple example. We brought a national transformation plan to the public in 2020. And that was, pre-COVID. It was sitting well with, our climate change agenda, the sustainable development goals. Now in 2025, we have to refresh that to, encompass more things like digital transformation, intelligent municipalities, intelligence to the curb, cutting red tape of government services. All of these things have to be relooked at in 2025, and perhaps we will do a better job of articulating those positions to the general public when the election time comes, and hopefully they will jump on board with our vision to, restructure, reshape, and redirect Trinidad and Tobago as we head into 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if this question has been asked, Mr. Parry, but in terms of leadership, how much of it, in your opinion, lies on the personal integrity of the person in the position? And I'm speaking in a broad sense here, leadership. And when look, I am no longer providing value, and it is time for me to make way and room for people who can provide better value in taking an institution forward. At what point does that factoring into a leader's DNA?
Leadership is critically important in any organization, whether you run a parlor, a supermarket, a conglomerate, a political organization. Leadership is key. I have a different view. I think 20 or 30 years ago, the political landscape was different. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, leaders would have taken a team to government. Today, I believe a team has to take leaders to government. Leaders provide direction. Leaders ought to provide direction. Leaders ought to set the stage for empowering people. In my organization here in Mayaro, in my constituency office, the parliament is always amazed when I send my reports in terms of the amount of work that we do in Mayaro, because I empower my staff to act. I empower my office manager, my customer service representatives. We use a lot of digital systems in the office. So if you don't provide that type of leadership, you would not excel at the end of the day. So to come back specifically to the question, leadership is important. You must find a length and line in terms of how you communicate, how you empower, how you get feedback. I am saying one of the traits that I carry in my personal business, I have about 60 guys who are, many of them, a lot academically, well qualified than I am. But I depend on their advice to listen, to understand what's happening. And I know what my customer wants. So I will tell them what the customer wants, and they will say, well, Rushton, we need to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We could do it this way, that way. And then we come together and we come with a plan forward. So in general, leadership in anything is critical to the success in
Well, I'm
any
glad you
organization.
said that, because to follow Richard's question, and good morning to Larry, Lala, SC, and Dr. Fuad Khan and others on the stream. Brand PNM under Patrick Manning was different to brand PNM under Dr. Keith Rowley. Brand UNC under Mr. Pandey is different to brand UNC under Mrs. Pasal Bisesa. How do you think the public assesses, because this has significant implication not only for the party internally, but the external perceptions of the party as an option for leadership in the country? Would you agree with that statement?
Absolutely.
Branding, because you're a businessman, the brand is very important. Yeah. How the public perceives, not how the party perceives itself, but how the public perceives is what the brand is, not what people think about themselves. What the public gets from you. How do you assess brand UNC at this point?
Brand UNC to me is a work in progress. I do believe that we are building, we are re-strengthening our brand. There has been a considerable amount of work happening. I mean, primarily we've started those crime consultations. Very, very soon there's a number of other type of consultation that will be executed on the ground to lift the brand of the party, go into other areas and discuss, deeply in terms of infrastructure, health, education, those other pieces that form, the mechanisms in our society. But brand is important. Everybody wants to align with the best brand that is possible. And refreshing of brands, every now and then, brands ought to be refreshed. Long ago it was Kentucky Fried Chicken, now it's KFC. Long ago was Republic Bank, now it's RBTT. So there is always...
So how is brand UNC different today than it was in 2015?
Well, I don't think that we've lost considerably in terms of our brand. I think we have weakened a bit based on a number of issues that have come up from time to time. But it is not impossible to rebrand. It is not impossible to re-strengthen the brand, because we are a strong political vehicle in the United National Congress. That is a fact. And all we have to do really is, take a very good retrospective look at the areas that we have become weak in, and we have to make some decisive action in repairing those things. And we have some time. We have about 18 months, I think, probably 2 years, let's put it this way, because I do believe Dr. Rowley is going to stretch the general election to its maximum till probably November next year. So we do have time.
Has that been his history?
Yeah. Well, the tremendous amount of pressure that the PNM is going to come under from a very strong United National Congress over the next few months, I don't think any prime minister, or what we'll call a lame duck prime minister, will want to leave office sooner than is necessary. So this is just my suspect at the end of the day, because we are going to come strong and hard at the PNM over the next couple of months.
With a weak leadership?
Well, I mean, that could be your view. All right.
I know, as a businessman,
I've read between your lines all morning.
The incontrovertible fact and evidence we have, besides everybody has a perception politically, is that the public chose X over Y in the last two general elections, and that is incontrovertible. Everything else is perception, and that's why I ask if there's a difference in public perception or brand that you think is palpable enough to make a difference in 2025, because that is essentially what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm. I will say this, that everything that we need to do in the United National Congress to improve our brand image, whether it be look, style, color, faces, people, language, all possibilities are on the table, and we are making an aggressive move to clean and strengthen those things going forward. And as I said, any changes that will come in the United National Congress will be based on the will of the membership. And that is something that I have the greatest respect for, in terms of how do we define political leadership standing on the strength of your membership, and that your membership as well must always be locked in the bosom of leadership. There must never be a big space between that. And perhaps those are the things that we need to correct going forward.
Good morning to Ramona Ramdale also. Rushton Parry, thank you for your intervention.
Well, Paul, before you sign off, it didn't escape me, Mr. Parry, that Ramona Ramdale, Dr. Fuad Khan, and Larry Lala, who've been very critical of the current leadership of the UNC, are actually watching this program this morning. That didn't escape me, but I'll leave that there.
Well, I would just probably close off and say that I am indeed a good-looking fella, and I'm not amazed that you may have had a lot of people locked on.
And you speak very well, and you're very articulate.
Thank you very much.
Rushton Parry, thank you for being with us this morning. We appreciate your time and your contribution.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All
Thank you for having me.
You all have a great day. Please be safe out there. Please be safe.
Yeah, of course, that was MP Rushton Parry, who I've always been very praiseworthy of.
Very likable person. Very likable.
Yeah. And I've heard that he's doing an excellent job in Mayaro, and would probably make a good leader. Who knows?
Stand up and go, conclusion.
Have a wonderful day. Remember to let go and let God. I think the gathering of the leadership crisis is coming into being with those people who logged on this morning.
Have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic day, whatever you do. Of course, Tetris on this weekend. We're back now in Sapa this weekend, and thank you for hundreds of people who came out on Saturday and Sunday. We had fantastic houses at Queen's. So people came out, and they had a fantastic time, and this play is hilarious. You really should see it. So we're on to Sapa this weekend, and of course tickets are available at the Sapa box office from Wednesday, but at all the outlets in South from today, well since from over the weekend, which is Friends of Marabella by the Roundabout, K Squared Fashions at C3 Center, and at Gulf City, and of course Brentwood Mall in Chagonas, Creme Fresh. All of those four outlets have tickets. You can get your tickets there. I know Southerners have been inquiring, and people in Central have been inquiring. Have a fantastic day. Speak to you bright and early tomorrow morning, where I will be earlier. I had a very late night. Have a great one. Speak to you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Rich. All right, let's get into 8 o'clock news brief. If he is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power